This is the VOA Special English Development Report. Before refrigerators were invented, the next best thing was an icebox. But another way to keep food fresh is to use an evaporative cooler. A common design is a tall box with several shelves inside to hold the food. The shelves are pieces of metal with many small holes through them. The sides of the box are covered with pieces of thick cloth. Containers of water are placed at the top and bottom of the cooler. The ends of each piece of cloth lie in the water so the cloth stays wet. The cooler is put outdoors, but not in the sun. Air will pass through the wet cloth. The inside of the box will stay several degrees cooler than the outside air temperature. This may be cool enough to keep foods fresh, at least for a short time. Some foods can make you sick if they are stored in conditions that are not cold enough to prevent the growth of harmful organisms. Freezing can keep some foods in good condition for months after the growing season. Yet foods can be damaged if they are kept too cold. The British development group Practical Action says the best way to prepare foods for storage is at harvest time while still in the field. Use a sharp knife and place the harvested items on a clean surface or directly into storage containers. Do not put them on the ground. Use clean water to remove dirt and keep the water clean. Usually it is better not to remove outer leaves from fruits and vegetables before storage. Without the leaves, food can become dry. Fruits and vegetables must be cool from field heat before they are put into storage. But cooling them in water can spread fungus throughout the food. A better idea is to harvest foods either early or late in the day, then leave them to cool naturally. Some fruits and vegetables must be stored at 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. Any colder and they might be damaged. Some foods need to be stored at 4 to 8 degrees, and some need to be stored above 8 degrees for best results. Wet the fruits and vegetables so they do not become too dry. The best time to do this is before storage. Cover the items in plastic once they reach the right critical temperature for storage. Most fruits and vegetables need the relative humidity in storage to be kept between 85 and 95%. Finally, leave space between the food containers and the walls of the cold storage area so air can flow. Keep the space clean and try not to open the doors too often. And that's the VOA Special English
This is the VOA Special
Report.
English Technology Report. Recently, the Wall Street Journal had a report about the online travel company Orbitz. The newspaper said Orbitz shows Mac users higher-priced travel choices at the top of search results than users of Windows. The company began doing this after research suggested that people who use Mac computers spend up to 30% more for hotels than people with PCs. Former Orbitz employee Cameron Ewell is chief executive of a digital media and technology company called Adgent. He says Mac users tend to be more affluent than PC users. So why not target them with the messages that are going to resonate with them? This kind of price discrimination is also known as dynamic pricing. Cameron Ewell says it is a very common marketing tool, especially in the travel industry. He puts it this way: next time you're on a flight, ask the person next to you what they paid for their ticket. For example, if you are a business traveler or you bought your ticket at the last minute, you will always get charged more. Companies have always gathered information about their customers, but now they have a lot more ways to do it. Eric Martin is a partner at Boost Partners, a management consulting company. He says a salesperson in a store can only assume certain things about you based on your appearance. Online sellers, however, have far more information to work with, including information about which website directed you to them. Eric Martin says the people that you deal with online can't see you at all physically, but they know that, for instance, when you came to Orbitz, you may have been directed there by Kayak. Kayak is itself a comparison site, and that may then lead Orbitz to believe that you're searching for deals. Information about the referring site is only one of the things that a site like Orbitz will consider. Is the person a return visitor? Which hotels has this person viewed in the past? Websites collect this kind of information by placing small files known as cookies on a person's computer. In the case of Orbitz, Mac and PC users were actually given the same choices. However, they appeared in different orders. For Mac users, the higher-priced hotels showed up higher in the search results. Orbitz says 90% of its users book a hotel that appears on the first page, and mostly in the top 5 listings. For VOA Special English,
this is the VOA Special
I'm Mario
English
Ritter.
Technology Report. Falling prices are fueling growth in high-speed internet services, especially in developing countries. Recently, the International Telecommunication Union released its Measuring the Information Society 2011 report. The ITU, part of the United Nations, compared access, use, and skills in 152 countries. The report says South Korea has the world's most developed economy in information and communication technology, or ICT. Sweden, Iceland, Denmark, and Finland were also among the top 5 in the ICT Development Index. The index compares 2008 and 2010 scores. Saudi Arabia, Morocco, Vietnam, and Russia had some of the biggest improvements between those years. Susan Teltscher is head of the ICT Data and Statistics Division at the International Telecommunication Union in Switzerland. She says most of the growth has come from one source. Mobile broadband is now leading the growth race among the different ICT indicators, much higher than the other key indicators that we look at, like regular mobile phone subscriptions, fixed telephone, or fixed broadband. And the good news is that it's also starting to grow in developing countries. Mobile broadband subscriptions reached 872 million by the end of last year. 300 million of those are in developing countries. Ms. Teltscher says, If we can bring internet over the mobile phones, then we can really make a difference in terms of improving internet access also in developing countries. Falling prices are adding to the growth, she says, especially in the broadband area. The prices dropped by over 50% between 2008 and 2010, which is a very encouraging finding because this was primarily drops in the developing countries. Even so, the report says people in many low-income countries are still paying too much for high-speed internet connections. In Africa, broadband service for a home or office cost almost 3 times an average monthly income last year. That was down from 6.5 times as much in 2008. Also, there are big differences in broadband speed and quality from country to country. South Korea has Asia's 4th largest economy. Susan Telcher says, if you look at what they have been achieving in terms of ICT development, it's actually higher than what you would expect given their national income. For VOA Special English,
this is the
I'm
VOA
Carolyn Precision.
Special English Technology Report. A rocket designed and built by a privately owned company recently made history by bringing a supply capsule to the International Space Station. It was the first private spacecraft to carry out such a mission. The company, SpaceX, launched its Dragon space capsule on the company's Falcon 9 rocket. It was launched May 22nd from Cape Canaveral, Florida. SpaceX mission controllers celebrated when the rocket reached orbit and its solar panels deployed. 3 days earlier, a launch attempt was canceled at the last second when a computer found a problem with the engine. Astronauts on the International Space Station used its robotic arm to secure the capsule. Later, they released the Dragon capsule and it returned to Earth. It landed in the Pacific Ocean after its 9-day mission. Charlie Bolden is the head of NASA, the American Space Agency. He spoke to reporters at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida after the rocket was launched. The significance of this day cannot be overstated, he said. The head of SpaceX watched the launch from company headquarters in California. Elon Musk compared it to winning the Super Bowl. He said there was so much hope riding on that rocket. There was tremendous elation, he said, when his employees saw all their work operating as it should in space. NASA has invested about $400 million in SpaceX to help it develop space flight technology. And the agency also has a contract with SpaceX for 12 flights to resupply the space station. NASA wants private companies to carry out operations in low Earth orbit. The agency wants to focus its attention on developing the next generation of spacecraft that can travel to asteroids or Mars. The Falcon 9 rocket brought more than 500 kilograms of supplies to the space station. SpaceX said the rocket also carried the cremated remains of 300 people. The part of the rocket that carried their ashes will orbit the Earth for about a year until burning up in the atmosphere. Among the ashes were those of astronaut Gordon Cooper and actor James Doohan. He played Scotty, the chief engineer of the Starship Enterprise in the popular TV and movie series Star Trek. For VOA Special English, I'm Alex Villarreal. To learn more about SpaceX and the Dragon capsule, go to VOA
This is the VOA
Special
Special English Development Report. Food that has come in contact with floodwaters can sicken anyone who eats it. Water from floods may contain animal and human waste. It can also contain other pollutants like chemicals from agriculture and industry. After a flood, food safety specialists in the United States Department of Agriculture have this advice. Throw away anything that is not stored in a waterproof container if there was a chance of contact. Food containers that are not waterproof include those with screw caps, snap lids, pull tops, and crimped caps. Also, throw away boxes of juice, milk, or baby formula if they have come into contact with floodwater. The Department of Health in the state of Minnesota says you should throw away anything in soft packaging. And the Extension Service at North Dakota State University offers other advice. Do not save plastic bags of food even if boxes or containers inside the bags appear dry. Do not eat fresh produce from the garden if it has come in contact with floodwaters. To be safe, have the soil tested. And throw away screw-topped or crimp-topped jars and bottles even if they have never been opened. Glass jars and bottles of home canned foods should be thrown out as well. Experts say the containers cannot be effectively cleaned after a flood. Throw away damaged metal cans or hard plastic containers. Do not use cans that are swollen or leaking or that are rusted or crushed. But food safety experts say that some unopened, undamaged all-metal cans can be saved. First, remove any labels. The paper may contain dirt and germs from the floodwater. Wash the cans with soap and water and brush or wipe away dirt. Use hot water and water that is safe for drinking if they are available. Next, place the cans again in water and heat the water to 100 degrees Celsius. Boil the cans for 2 minutes. Another way to disinfect the cans is in a freshly made solution of chlorine bleach. Use 8 drops of unscented liquid bleach for every 4 liters of water. Use drinking water or the cleanest, clearest water available. Place the cans in the solution for 15 minutes. Let sanitized cans air dry for at least 1 hour before opening or storing them, and relabel the cans with a marking pen to list their contents and any dates when the foods are best used by. Experts advise using the cans as soon as possible. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report. You can read, download, and comment on our reports at voaspecialenglish.com.
Development Report. Snakes bite an estimated 5.5 million people worldwide each year. Experts say tens of thousands of people die from venom poisoning. And untreated, or incorrectly treated bite might require the removal of a foot or an arm. Each year, around 400,000 amputations are the result of snake bites. Last year, for the first time, the World Health Organization added snake bites to its list of neglected tropical diseases. This recognition aims to bring greater attention to the problem. Scientists know of about 3,000 kinds of snakes. About 600 of them are poisonous. These are most often found in rural areas in tropical climates. Asia and Africa have the highest number of snake bites, together about 4 million a year. Latin America and islands in the South Pacific follow. The highest number of victims are agricultural workers. Snake bites are also common among fishermen, hunters, and children. Many victims live in areas with poor or non-existent healthcare systems and where anti-venom treatments are often not available. Anti-venom is the only cure, but experts say anti-venom technologies and their use need to be improved. Problems include a shortage of manufacturers and the high cost of treatment. Also, there is a widespread lack of knowledge among local health workers about how to use antivenoms. The treatments can cause dangerous and even deadly reactions if not used carefully. Antivenom contains proteins from animals such as horses or sheep. The animals are injected repeatedly with one or more different snake venoms to produce immunity. The Lancet Medical Journal recently published a series of reports on snakebite prevention and treatment. David Worrell at the University of Oxford in England co-wrote one of them. He praised efforts by the WHO to establish common practices for the production, regulation, and control of antivenom. But he says more must be done. The authors say community education programs could help prevent snake bites by teaching people how to avoid them. They also suggest actions like providing protective boots to wear while working in fields and not sleeping on the ground. Also important is providing information about where dangerous snakes are most likely to live and when they are most active. And that's the VOA Special English Development Report.
Freezing can keep some foods in good condition for months after the growing season. Yet foods can be damaged if they are kept too cold. The British development group Practical Action says the best way to prepare foods for storage is at harvest time while still in the field. Use a sharp knife and place the harvested items on a clean surface or directly into storage containers. Do not put them on the ground. Use clean. This is the VOA Special English Development Report. Before refrigerators were invented, the next best thing was an icebox. But another way to keep food fresh is to use an evaporative cooler. A common design is a tall box with several shelves inside to hold the food. The shelves are pieces of metal with many small holes through them. The sides of the box are covered with pieces of thick cloth. Containers of water are placed at the top and bottom of the cooler. The vegetables must be stored at 0 to 4 degrees Celsius. Any colder and they might be damaged. Some foods need to be stored at 4 to 8 degrees, and some need to be stored above 8 degrees for best results. Wet the fruits and vegetables so they do not become too dry. The best time to do this is before storage. Cover the items in plastic once they reach the right critical temperature for storage. Most fruits and vegetables need the relatives of each piece of cloth lie in the water so the cloth stays wet. The cooler is put outdoors, but not in the sun. Air will pass through the wet cloth. The inside of the box will stay several degrees cooler than the outside air temperature. This may be cool enough to keep foods fresh, at least for a short time. Some foods can make you sick if they are stored in conditions that are not cold enough to prevent the growth of harmful organisms. Water to remove dirt and keep the water clean. Usually it is better not to remove outer leaves from fruits and vegetables before storage. Without the leaves, food can become dry. Fruits and vegetables must be cool from field heat before they are put into storage. But cooling them in water can spread fungus throughout the food. A better idea is to harvest foods either early or late in the day, then leave them to cool naturally. Some fruits and